Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for participating in the Innovative City Forum. The Innovative City Forum is an international conference with the topic of designing the future for global cities and lifestyles. We have gathered experts from Japan and all over the world who are leaders in their respective fields, such as cutting-edge technology, art and creative, urban development, and economy and industry, and we will have discussions, information exchange, and networking across different fields and domains. Now we would like to begin the Innovative City Forum, the Japan Foundation Asia Center session. Reverse idea. In search of new coordinates from Asian dynamism. We would now like to invite the Executive Vice President of the Japan Foundation, Ms. Hiroko Tsuka, to make some opening remarks. Good afternoon. My name is Tsuka from the Japan Foundation. The Japan Foundation Asia Center has organized this event, so let me discuss a bit about the concept. First, the Japan Foundation promotes cultural exchange between Japan and overseas countries. It was established in 1972, and in order to further promote the cultural exchange between Asian countries and Japan, the Asia Center was established in 2014, and we have been participating in the Innovative City Forum since 2014. The overall theme of this year is the designing the future for global cities and lifestyles. The Asia Center, I would like to focus on culture and lifestyle, or from the perspective of Asia. The word innovation has diverse meanings, and in our daily lives, we always hear the word innovation at least once a day. But the original meaning is by the fusion of new fields and different fields creating something new. And this innovation creates changes to our lifestyles as well as the new richness to our lifestyles. Economic development and globalization brings on uniformity. However, is this making our lives more fulfilling? Perhaps we need to reconsider the definition of innovation. This is the starting point of this session. In our Asia Center, from the keyword of innovation, we look at the world from the people's daily lives. And non-visualized or non-verbalized aspects of our daily lives are discovered and connected to the technology for people's lives. And that is one of the key concepts for this session. A Bangladesh economist who has won the Nobel Prize through his activities on the Grameen Bank, Dr. Yunus has talked about the reverse innovation. The Grameen Bank promotes microfinance, and I'm sure the audience is versed in this concept, but it was developed in developing countries, and the validity of this concept has been accepted all over the world. And thus now microfinance is being promoted in advanced countries, and he calls this reverse innovation. So we have been inspired this reverse innovation, and that is why we set the concept of this session as reverse idea, in search of new coordinates from Asian dynamism. There may be new discoveries from our existing conventional thinking, or perhaps unrealized bias that could be rediscovered or changed from the new coordinates from Asia, and maybe this will help us enrich and live more fulfilling lives. In this session, we want you to reset the coordinates in your mind, and we hope that you will use all your 5 senses to fully appreciate and enjoy the 5 panelists. Let me last show my gratitude to the Mori Art Museum, the Mori Foundation, and all the related parties who have enabled this wonderful forum. Thank you very much. Executive Vice President, Ms. Hiroko Tsuka, thank you very much.
そして本セッションの前
Now, I would like to introduce, we would like to have a few words from Mr. Andrea Pompilio, who will be serving as a facilitator of the session. Mr. Andrea Pompilio, the floor is yours. Please come up to the stage. Please send the round a bit close to him. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Innovative City Forum. There have been the various discussions going on since yesterday, as well as presentations. So you've been exposed to the various topics. It's quite interesting. For example, capitalism, the way of capitalism, or how to shape the future. There are many opinions and voices raised. So it was a good finding to see how people think. So today at the Japan Foundation Asia Center session, the session is titled as The Reverse Idea, with the given themes, together with inspiring guest speakers. We would like to touch upon some of the hints which cultivate the future together with you. I will be serving as a moderator of the session. Once again, my name is Andrea Pompilio. Thank you. All right, now we would like to start the session. First speaker is the keynote and speech is titled as The Evolution of Islamic Fashion in Current Affairs, to be presented by Ms. Alia Khan, the Islamic Fashion and Design Council.
With a big round of applause.
Thank you, Andy. Great Japanese, by the way. You're kind of like a bit of a reverse idea yourself, wouldn't you say? How is everyone today? I like to say Assalamu alaikum, which is peace be upon you. And Japan is becoming so near and dear to my heart that I genuinely wish it peace and blessings. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Mr. Suzuki and his amazing team for hosting this incredible trip. What an event so far. Are we enjoying it? Yes? Good, good. Today I'd like to speak to you about the evolution of Islamic fashion in current affairs. And I think what's first and foremost interesting to say is it's been quite an evolution. So I head up the Islamic Fashion and Design Council. We set up the council to support and develop a growing industry. It's the modest fashion and lifestyle industry, which is primarily headed and in most demand by the growing Muslim population globally. Hence, it's an Islamic lifestyle platform. And I would say that we've inadvertently started a type of a revolution. It's quickly becoming coined the modest revolution, and we've sort of been the minds behind it inadvertently, I would say. What we basically did to open the gates to this revolution was that we basically worked on ideas and strategies and projects that continue to impact this modest space and the way it spans throughout lifestyle. And so now it effortlessly exhibits itself globally. So pretty much in every corner of the world, you will be exposed to the modest lifestyle, modest fashion, the Islamic faith-based style perceptions, more so now than ever before. So what it means to be a Muslim today is unlike any other era. The Islamic faith-based guidelines are something that practicing Muslims strive to preserve since the revelation of this faith. And I think this background is very important for you to understand the ideas behind Islamic fashion and why it's embraced so passionately to this day. So in today's era, the challenge for Muslims is to hang on to their faith, keep the balance in their belief system, whilst increasingly being influenced by the Western influences, which is led by television, film, toys, video games, that, as we can see today, we have no choice, but it infiltrates our children and even ourselves to a degree whether it's within or beyond our control. This, coupled with the pressures that a set of politicized criticisms targeted at Muslims, has created a new type of challenge, I would say, for the average Muslim person, who is, in their own mind, no different than you. But in the minds of the political construct, or perhaps even the media, they have been handpicked to be spoken about in a very different and unique manner. Hence, the challenge that they face is to approach their life with dignity, a level of wit, and of course sincerity, while they strive to fulfill their hopes of being a positive contributor to society, whilst also combating the Islamophobia and stereotypes that may very well even exist in your minds. So modest dressing built this narrative for Muslims in unprecedented ways. It started becoming a language, an unspoken language, that started introducing the Muslim in a light that they felt they had more control over. So Islamic fashion and design essentially rebranded the perception of Muslims. So the key to Muslim life, a Muslim would tell you, is to live by sound ideology. Now, you might ask, what is sound ideology? Because it could mean many things to many people. But the essence of the idea of sound ideology is something that has remained proven era after era, generation after generation, century after century, without posing an argument against it. So for all of the 1441 years of Islam's existence, Islamic practices have remained the same. When a practice keeps proving its concept generation after generation, it is deemed to be sound ideology. Sound ideology proves to be ideas, practices, and systems that work irrespective of the time that you're living in. Sound ideology never needs to be altered because it is beyond us. It is what we believe that has been derived from divine revelation. Muslims learn through consistent, honest practice of their faith that sound ideology is their sound guide to their life. So, what the Muslims know is that early on in their journey, they had to embrace and learn a type of knowledge that was revealed to them in a book called the Quran. This book is believed to be revealed to them by God, and it is a sort of help for all of mankind. The powers and ideas in this holy book have baffled many minds around the scientific world. The Quran continues to amaze the most skeptical of people who are impressed by how proven scientific theories were discussed in this book well before they were discovered by science. The book also provides a range of other important information that has proven to be optimal practices in business, finance, health, social, and family life. Hence, the book is an all-encompassing, holistic approach to optimal, successful life. So, because this book has stood the test of time and continues to guide Muslims from the early generations to the current generation, the Muslims have developed this unwavering confidence in it because it continues to prove itself. In fact, God promises in the Holy Quran that the message of the Holy Quran will remain intact till the end of time, and it cannot be destroyed. So, just to pick a few things to give you by way of example, the Quran mandates our lifestyle to a large degree. An example of that would be that we are told in the Quran to live in a clean, just, ethical, and legal manner. And all actions must be filled with good treatment and respect for all. There's a verse in chapter 6, verse 38, that says, "There is not an animal that lives on the earth, nor a being that flies on its wings, but they are communities like you. Nothing have we omitted from the book, and they all shall be gathered to their Lord in the end." So all has been considered within this book that the Muslim embraces and lives by. So the Muslims have a basic prime set of 5 principles that they live by. This is their primer to their practices, their beliefs, and their day-to-day lives. The first one, and this is not in any particular order, includes an active meditative connecting with the power source called God. And this is done 5 times a day. It's their 5-time prayer. Then the second one is a rejuvenation of your health system through fasting for 30 days each year. And they believe that and science has proven now, once you fast for 30 days, a lot of diseases can be eliminated, combated, and placed under control. Another one is sharing a minimum of 2.5% of their wealth to ensure human development and betterment for all. And the fourth one is taking a journey to the energy center in Mecca, where their connection to the power source is renewed in order to keep correct their internal navigation system. This is a navigation system that to this day science hasn't been able to get a handle on. And it's comprised of instincts, gut feelings, inclinations, and ideas that science cannot explain and cannot help you to control fully. We believe that once we have our navigation system intact, we go out in our day-to-day lives, we make the better choices, we are better guided to be optimal as human beings. And this is why the 5th and the most important principle is the source itself. The belief in the one and only God, the highest power, the real source of all things good. We learn through our practices that by just setting our belief on God, we have activated the powers. And of course, we believe that Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, is the guide who shows us, by example, how these powers are activated and realized. So he was brought on this earth as a real example for us to follow. Few examples of what we have learned from Muhammad is that he has mastered the art of, and this is very important to my industry, the fashion and lifestyle industry, is mastering the art of underspending, upcycling, sharing, and swapping clothing. Ensuring the food that he ate was tayyib, which is a type of pure in which scientists now are finding a direct link between negative anxiety and hormones being transferred through us through our food. Hence, Muslims must ensure that their food is tayyib, so they transfer only the good from the animal that it came from, of course. He often woke up before sunrise and meditated with affirmations in the morning, followed by the morning prayer, napping in the middle of the day to optimize his brain. And he would only eat in moderation, having 1/3 for drink, 1/3 for food, and 1/3 for the air that we breathe. He would not sip from chipped mugs since they accumulated bacteria. And today, of course, science has proven all of this. Today, we know that naps can restore alertness. They enhance performance and reduce mistakes and accidents. A study at NASA on sleepy military pilots and astronauts found that a 40-minute nap improved performance by 34% and alertness by 100%. Meditation activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which triggers a deep state of relaxation during the practice. So even though you may wake up from sleep still tired, after meditating for 20 minutes, it is proven that you will get energy-boosting endorphins. Another practice that the fashion industry is heavily criticized for is payment and treatment of the workers. We were taught that pay the worker his wages before his sweat has dried. And this is one of these principles that has been taught to pretty much every child at a young age. So, modest, when you hear this, when it comes to modest fashion and lifestyle and even certain types of products that are related to the modest lifestyle, is a type of lifestyle where our behavior tends to remain more reserved and our dressing is conservative yet elegant. So we begin with the hijab. As you might know, hijab is a veil, it's a covering. Many misunderstand the concept of hijab to mean that it is a physical scarf on a woman's head. Whilst that's a small component of what hijab is, it hardly scratches the surface on the true meaning of the idea behind hijab. So, what requires a hijab is the all-encompassing facets, the various facets of hijab, which begin with the eyes. There's a hijab of the eyes, where we are told to be careful of what we allow ourselves to see so as not to be disturbed. For example, pornography, violent films, morally desensitizing material is highly damaging to us. So we are taught to remove our gaze from such things. There's a hijab of the ears, ensuring that we listen to only positive things and not degrading rhetoric, which can alter and has proven to alter a positive state. There's a hijab of the tongue, actively stopping ourselves from backbiting, using harsh words, being angry and saying things that we will later regret. There's a hijab of the mind, which essentially transfers to our character, which means that we avoid low-grade tendencies, adhering to unkind thoughts, unloving and unforgiving ways. We make sure that we fill our minds with humility and positive thoughts, and we don't think badly of others, and we give as much of the benefit of the doubt as possible. And the physical hijab, of course, guards our modesty whilst keeping us, helping us to be preservers of dignity in society. Because by nature, coverings are a protection, and our covering in the way we choose to dress is a form of preservation of dignity. This leads us to naturally seeing the development of a third space. The third space is an important place that has been naturally created with the over $400 billion spending power that the global Muslim population now has seen a change, a turn of a certain type of a system that has occurred in the business world. Now businesses are highly coveting the Muslim audience and the Muslim consumer. This third space has not only evolved in a commercial construct, it's also evolved in a social and a political and of course the economical construct where there's a hybrid, an east-west hybrid that more of the global population is beginning to identify with. This third space provides one from the modest lifestyle, a respectable existence. It allows them to feel the norm of being a part of today's world without sacrificing their values and principles, resulting in a collective political, commercial, and social success model that is becoming a global influencer in and of itself. Now, the growing number of Islamic or modest lifestyle industry leaders in this third space are afforded the opportunity to set a priority on moral excellence, whilst representing lucrative opportunities in the East and the West. So businesses in this space must always stay on top of what the spiritual construct of these people are, what they embrace by way of meaning and depth, rather than just shallow products that they would adorn on themselves or within their homes. The third space does narrow the gap through common ground interests whilst building the rights of the brand, consumer, society, and planet. For Muslims, hope had come in the face of modesty. With this, we have both a challenge and an opportunity to tap into a multifaceted culture found in all corners of the world. Instead of adhering to a more hollow supply-demand model, we have now set a new tone, using a set of morals and spiritual ethics in life that doesn't seek outward validation alone. It's a system that promises to create global economies around higher values. We free ourselves from secular values based on breaking the rules or power calling the shots, where values are only legitimate if one can justify it through a man-made construct, a man-made spiritual construct, or a scientific, biological, or mathematical argument, which falls short of the sound ideology which I just described to you, proposed centuries ago, that has proven for the Muslim to work for this valuable consumer market over and over again. And the sooner businesses understand this, the easier it will be for them to connect with this consumer profile. The proof of concept is that we find ourselves everywhere. We find ourselves, we find this type of a curiosity that has developed in all corners of the world. And this new construct helps us to monitor our messaging and position the reality of who we are with measurable results. This third space invites all to adhere to proven ethics in business and social models based on justice. So, modest fashion in a way has disproven and maybe even quashed the idea of Islamophobia. The popularity of Islamic fashion really thrashes the stereotypes now, doesn't it? Now a new society of strong, self-believing, and empowered women emerge who are unapologetically Muslim. And with their unapologetical Muslim male counterparts, they are taking the lead in demonstrating the measurable benefits that a lifestyle led by self-accountability and faith-based rules yields to all. Their look is their own. Their character is built on values. Islamic fashion has proven that it does not rely on validation, acceptance, or explanation to justify its existence and success. This is an empowering message for all. Breaking the bondage with peer pressure is liberating. With the Islamic lifestyle, we can be real, be a unique type of beautiful, and preserve proven values set forth from the beginning of time. It allows us to release ourselves from seeking the gaze or approval of others. The race is not toward popularity, only toward positive contribution in society. And with that, I thank you for hearing the presentation, and I really do look forward to engaging with you after the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Fantastic presentation. 確かにIslamic fashion.
Yes, indeed, Islamic fashion, as you say. When I heard her presentation, I've never actually studied about this, and we don't have much opportunity to have contact with such culture. However, listening to her presentation, I felt similarity between Islamic culture and Japanese culture. That means that Japanese clothes, you just would not wear it. You would just put it on your body. And that is a close, I think, a similarity with the Islamic fashion. And people would always say that season and nature, we should aware that we should have that fit into our body. So these type of, I think, in the fashion arena, even though we have the similarities between the Islamic world and Japanese world, it was shocking to me that Islamophobia, she mentioned this word, Islamophobia. Well, at this in this era, why do we have this? For beliefs, your religion that you believe in, why are you scared of it? Of course, if you go further into the depths, there may be some responsibility of the mass media, which I'm part of it. So what we need mostly at this moment is the education, right education. There is a shift of value and thinking, way of thinking, and that's a necessity that I felt strongly. But that was excellent. I think fighting Islamophobia through fashion was her message, I believe. Through fashion, the culture and value and your belief and religion should be conveyed and communicated. That was her message. So next presentation is from a proposal from the music and art. And the title is From Discarding to Recycling, Celebrating the Death and Rebirth of Technology. So we have artist and musician. I really love him, Mr. A. Wada. Mr. Wada, please. Thank you. My name is Wada, artisan musician. Well, what I do is originally is not a musical instrument, but I would revive an old electric appliance and turn it into an instrument, and I'm performing it. So let me show you how I perform. This is performing an home appliance, and imagine with a sound first. Can you imagine? So this was the sound. Can you guess what I was performing? This is Tube TV that I was playing. So you can see it now with a video. So from Tube TV, we have static electricity coming out, and I would catch it with a hand, and through the guitar amplifier, I would connect that coil directly to my foot, and the sound is created. So the retired electronic and electricity products are being reborn and rejuvenated into a musical instrument I'm performing. So I'd like to talk today how I started this activity and how I'm related to Asia. You can see this is a picture of what is this? Garan. It's a Garuda, Indonesian bird god. And when I was 3 years old around, I visited Indonesia, island Bali with my family, and I first met Garuda, and it was very shocking and inspiring and frightening experience for me to see this Garuda. It was like a Japanese folklore demon, Namahage, and I think this shocking experience is still continuously being in my mind and body. This is a 3-year-old myself, and what I saw there, I saw kecha, kecha-cha, kecha-cha. It's like a verse and a song sung by those people, and you have the Garuda masked people dancing. This was a musical ritual that was a sort of a bizarre festival, and that was a really shocking and impact, extraordinary sound, and the scene was really shocking and is still a memory for me. And at that time I felt that it's sort of mysterious devils and demons and different world would exist. So that is a feeling that I thought and still that I'm keeping until this age. And since then, for a long time, I've lived in Japan surrounded by technology, and through that At one time, I saw the snow noise in the TV and also a crying noise of the radio. And in that noise created by those home appliances, I felt him. I felt Garuda. Garuda living in snow noise and crying noise. And Garuda is behind this and the different world. And this is connected through this electric appliances. That's what I thought at that time. And this image and fantasy has been connected with the real world. And I found it when I was in university. Through the tube TV, there is a video terminal and audio terminal. Maybe you're all aware of this. It's very same shape. And one day I made a mistake and I connected the wrong thing to the different terminal. So that means that when I had the video on the audio terminal, we had this stripe noise appearing on TV. And when sound was made into a stripe, I thought at that time that from stripe, maybe the sound would be created. That's what I thought. And I wondered, I did a lot of experience, and finally, or as a result, I found that those striped TV, you have the static electricity, you just pick them up through your hand, and depending on the numbers of stripes, we may have the different sound tunes. And at this time, for me, tube TV became a musical instrument for me. These sounds is a Garudic sound for me. So it is sort of Garudic sound which I found here. Through TV, tube TV, the Garuda had expressed his voice. So that was Garudic sound for me. So this is an electricity type of sound, and the image of Garuda had been connected. And from that, I thought of catching the waves of the electricity. I thought that any home appliances and electric appliances could turn into a musical instrument. So I had thought about and started Electronico Fantasico from 4 years ago. It is not just by myself, but various people are involved, and the retired electric appliances would be resuscitated and as an electronic musical instrument. And I thought of having a performance all together. So this is a technology, so electromagnetic, the mysterious and fun can be found, and you can communicate with Garuda through this instrument. I discovered this. I thought that these home appliances are still alive and they could be used. So from the technology with the mass-produced that was wasted already would be turned into a bizarre festival using new indigenous music. And that is the reason why I launched this project. And since then, 4 years have already passed. In 3 locations, Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hitachi, I have these centers, and professional and amateur musicians are with me doing these activities. These are our daily activities. I think all the members are just an engineer who works for a home appliance company, or maybe designers or musician, or just those who like music and festivals. They get together with retired old home appliances, and we're on a daily basis exploring the possibility of turning this into a new instrument. And by now we have about 15 types of home appliances, and we do have the bands formed. And through that we had the orchestra or band. And in 2011 there was a change. The analog broadcasting has been finished through digitalized terrestrial TV broadcasting, and therefore tube TV had become a waste. When looking at that waste of TV, I thought that this is like a gamelan ensemble that could be found in Indonesia. That's the image that I thought, and fantasy had sparked. We need to do TV gamelan ensemble, and therefore in 2016 I participated in the Ibaraki Prefecture's Northern Art Festival. In a part of this shopping street, I had a secret house there built, and I was always banging the TV. And one of the old women in the local community had started to dance, and children came and started to dance with my music. So this is, he's now trying to become a wild guy. And rumor became rumor, and I think many people came to me donating me the retired or wasted TV and all of TV that I collected through that shopping street. I turned that into an instrument, and through that rumor, I think many people had gathered the musicians around, and still we have challenged this instrument that's never been played, and we formed a band. And in Hitachi, near the central public square in Hitachi City, I had arranged 22 TVs and made a performance. So this is it. This is a four-man band with playing 22 TVs. And another very representative instrument is electric fan, and this is an instrument made from electric fan. So this is from the rotation of the fan. This is going to be picked up as an electric signal or blinking light and making the noise. So this is the electric fan harp, and I formed a band, and I have had live concert outside Japan. But because of lack of time today, I'm not able to show you all of the things. We have the border shirt sizers and car sizers and telephone sizers and so forth. So in 2017, I had challenged in participating a festival. I had participated in Electromagnetic Bomb Dance Festival. This is for festival to celebrate death and rebirth of the technology. So Bonn Festival is to be the memorial service of the dead. So rather than for the dead people, we're going to provide memorial service for the dead home appliances. So I had named it Ushikusai Festival, and underneath Tokyo Tower's studio. We had built a very big tower in this space with laser beams all glaring. We had asked a priest to recite the sutra for the retired home appliances, and all of the performances were done by live performance of the electromagnetic instruments, and we had a folk singer singing the change of the technologies and its history, and also we had a palanquin of permanent wave machine, and people were just dancing. So it is a bizarre festival that has just appeared, and we had about 500 people here. We had electromagnetic Bond Dance Festival. Whether it be professional or amateur, we had many people participating in this festival together with those members. We made a festival. That means that for myself or for ourselves, electronic instrument is electronic folklore instrument, and behind that we have electromagnetic folklore music without nationality or without borders. So I am dreaming a fantasy here again. Next thing that I want to do is electromagnetic orchestra without borders and without nationality to be formed. We will not have people in different we will have gathered people in different regions using retired home appliances as material, making instruments, and start the electromagnetic orchestra. So we are thinking about having location 3 in Japan, and I want to expand that to Asia and other regions. I recall that when I was 3 years old, I was trying to find the band members in Indonesia, in Bali Island. Why Asia? Looking at this picture, you can imagine. I saw this in Asia. In the streets, there were repairers repairing the old home appliances and electric appliances. You have that kind of culture. And you have the second-hand home appliance markets all over the places. And you can see these are the fan stores. This is just a musical instrument store for me. So new musical instrument for me. So these sites, locations, when having a project there, I thought that there will be a chemical reaction coming out, a new thing coming out. And in that case, not sitar, but we may have fantar, a new instrument appearing, maybe not dutar or television tar or teletar coming up. And furthermore, these piled electronic wastes and that here, we see hidden orchestra shining and blinking. So we want to explore a new opportunity for the first step towards the electromagnetic orchestra. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, that was amazing. From the age of 3, you have been enthralled with Garuda, and then this has really changed your life. I so enjoyed this presentation, and maybe there's a lot of things that we can learn from sound. At the back of this hall, we don't have it anymore? Wada-san's instrument was exhibited, right? Can you explain? No? The microphone's not working? Okay. So at the back of this room, his instruments are exhibited. The barcode scanner and the stripes, you'll be able to try it yourselves. It's very interesting. And Ms. Khan is wearing a striped pattern skirt, and the moment that Wada-san saw her skirt, he wanted to scan and create sound. So when he sees stripes, he hears sound, and that was very interesting. Do you have a plan for some live performance? If you do, we can announce it later. Thank you. Now let me go on to the next speaker. From the medical field, Asian philosophy. We're considering the mind and body from an Oriental holistic viewpoint. We have invited Mr. Toshiro Inaba, who is a medical doctor or PhD. Hello, everybody. I am a doctor, but I have a cold. I apologize. So I might be coughing, but please don't interpret that. So I apologize for the nasal voice. It may be a bit hard to hear, but I will try my best. So my topic is the Asian holistic viewpoint of the mind and body. The Eastern or the Asian way looks at nature as parts being part of the whole and the whole being part of the parts. In the earth, there are trees and water and light, but in this light, all the truth of the earth is also encapsulated. And the same for the human body. The nature inside and the nature outside is all interlinked. So is this unique to Asia? I don't think so. But this first picture is looking at Japan from the continent. And you can see very clearly that the Japanese archipelago was part of the larger continent in the past. And about 200 million years ago, there was the Pangaea continent. And this Pangaea continent split and broke apart or combined together several times every hundreds of millions of years. In the most recent history of having the Pangea was the 250 million years ago. And you see that Japan is connected to China and Russia and then Africa and so on. So in the past, this was all one big continent, but these continents broke apart. Maybe several hundred million years later, all these continents will become one again. And this is the natural history of Earth. And our human body is made up of similar aspects. So the human body is made of 60 trillion cells. 60 trillion cells is difficult to imagine, but one Earth, our Earth has 7.5 billion people. And if we consider one cell as one person, then the 60 trillion cells equates to 7,000 Earths. So we have the 60 trillion beings or cells inside, and so we are all human beings at the time of birth are given this nature inside of our bodies. And this internal nature interacts and reflects with the nature outside. This was the intuitive understanding of the ancient people. So where is the difference between East and West? I believe that it is the difference between the ego and self. On the left-hand side, we see the Oriental concept, and the right-hand side, the Western concept. And in Japan, the ego is closer to the deep consciousness. In this slide, shallow or surface consciousness is at the top, and the deep unconsciousness is on the bottom. And in Japan, the consciousness is close to the deep consciousness, and the Westerners' consciousness is closer to the consciousness. So it is more outward looking, whereas the Oriental consciousness is more inward looking. So observing and controlling nature, controlling the outside world, that is the outside consciousness. On the other hand, the Oriental consciousness is more to the unconscious or internal self. So rather than observing the outside world, the Oriental consciousness tends to focus more on the observing the inside world, internal world. So I said that there was a Pangea continent, and then the continent broke apart, and this is it's a cycle for every hundreds of millions of years. And actually, something similar is happening in our body as well. We start from the single cell, the oocyte cell. And that's the left-hand side. That's from the mother. And from the father, we get the sperm. And that's also a single cell. In our body, there are 60 trillion cells, but actually, it all starts from the combination of two single cells, the oocyte and the sperm. And so this is 1,100 times expanded from the left-hand side and 500 times expanded for the sperm. In the case of the oocyte, there are 750,000 eggs made in the fetus, and every month, out of that, about 500 eggs grow, and during the puberty, and it is ovulated with the moon cycle. And so out of the 600 million sperm in the 3 million semen, the one sperm meets the one oocyte, and then there will be the division of these cells. The right-hand bottom picture shows the first cell division. So one cell to one cell combines, and then there is a division of the cells. And then there's further division of the cells, and ultimately it becomes 60 trillion cells. And during this process, the heart and the brain develops. For example, the central picture shows the 18th day, and the red, that's the heart at the middle. And the first, the heart beating can be confirmed on day 18. So the bodily organs are formed day by day, and you can see that you are pregnant by measuring the heartbeat. And then the brain develops on day 24. And on the 5th week, it's only about a 9 millimeter face of the, but from gradually the face forms depending on the genes from your parents. But actually, initially in this week 5, everybody looks the same. And so 10 week, 16 week, 18th week, you can see the hands. And on the 36th week, the baby is ready to go outside. So it is said that Japanese babies are born at minus 1 year, meaning that we are born 1 year ahead of where we should be born. The reason was because the Japanese people's brains became bigger and bigger. So when if you are born at the optimal time, then the baby's brain is too big. So that is why babies are born prematurely in that sense and weak. But because babies are born so weak, they need to be taken care of, and that is how families and society forms. That is unique to other animals. So these 60 trillion cells form our human body, and actually each organ are all made up of living cells. We see the tactile sense, the vibration sense, smelling sense, taste sense, auditory sense, and visual sense cells. For example, the olfactory cell looks like the sun, doesn't it? And the auditory sense is like a hair cell. And depending on where the cell is lined up by which hertz, you can sense the sound. And there is the color sensing cell and the light sensing cell that combines together. So these are all living cells, but actually dead cells protect the human body. Actually, our skin epidermis is made up of dead cells. But this creates the coating, the waterproof barrier. And you see the picture of the cell, which is in various layers, like scales, to protect the human body. So our body is very complicated and very intricate, but actually living beings are all quite complicated. And you see a mammal on the right hand bottom, that's a horse, but then actually you go birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and then more simple frog, locust, planarian, and hydra. So very simple diffused nervous system start to form shape, and then they are allocated and further become complicated more and more, and then finally the human nervous system is formed. So in this very complicated nervous system, our consciousness is formed. Actually, the consciousness and unconsciousness are form a rhythm. Consciousness look toward the external world, and the unconsciousness look toward the inner world. And actually, we need to have this cycle between consciousness and unconsciousness, or awakening and sleep. We always have to have this cycle. And by striking the balance between the consciousness and unconsciousness, we can live our lives. And the unconsciousness could be sleep, but also mediation as well, or dreaming. And that's this unconsciousness, or the inner world, I believe, is dream, mediation, art, as well as medicine. In Japan, we have the word of body-mind unity, meaning that the body and the mind are inseparable. And in the Eastern concept, brain, which is consciousness, could create a separate reality, like a fake virtual reality. So that is why it is always important to look at the harmony between the conscious brain and the unconscious body and mind. So the Eastern concept always focuses on the body, the mind, or the heart, and nature, which are all unconscious, and self and the ego is always looking inward. This picture, the top part of the circle is consciousness, and the bottom half of the circle is unconsciousness. And actually, we are always flowing between this consciousness and unconsciousness. Actually, if we are just always only in this conscious era, then we are becoming superficial, only looking at outward success. On the other hand, if we just dwell in the unconscious area, then we could be depressed or too inward looking. So we always have to have this flow between these different conscious and unconscious stages. And I think that the energy for the mind in that sense should be culture and art. And what I'm describing, I don't think is exemplified in Japanese medicine, but rather in the traditional arts and beauty. For example, or tea ceremonies or calligraphies or the Aikido or the Shinto ceremonies. And there is the secret, the wisdom to not be swayed by the brain's virtual reality through these arts and beauty. I myself practice No in the Zeami school, and under in the book written by Zeami called The Flowering Spirit, it says that the secret of No is that performing arts makes the heart peaceful, equal, and increases happiness. And this is the law of nature that extends life. And I feel that this is actually medicine itself. So the people who have mastered these arts have obtained the happiness of the universe. And this was how the expressions for tea ceremonies or calligraphies were born. So this is my last slide. In the Mahayana Buddhism, there is a concept called Indra net. And actually this is depicted in the Narcissus Garden by Yayoi Kusama, shown on the left-hand bottom picture. What is Indra net? Indra net is that on the there is all these orbs and jewels tied at the knots of the net, and these countless jewels reflect one another, and every jewel contains every jewel. So this is the same for our human body. Our human body is a microcosmos and contains the macro or nature cosmos inside, and similarly the macrocosmos have a microcosmos inner body inside. So in that sense, I think the process for restoring the wholeness of the body is art and medicine. And I think that wisdom is held in the Eastern consciousness and unconsciousness. Thank you very much. I have extended my time, but I appreciate your attention. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Inaba.
ね、本当にその東洋と西洋の
So consciousness and unconsciousness of the Oriental viewpoint. That was very interesting.
引き続きはですね、
Next speaker. Also the suggestion from medical field. From the department, the faculty of pharmacy, University of Airlangga, the professor Mangestuti Agil. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me in this very precious moment. I would like to share with you about Indonesian traditional medicines, namely jamu. Jamu is part of the life of Indonesians since long time ago for general or common ailments. It is prepared from a combination of natural substances from plants, minerals, animals. Right now, we have approximately 1,700 recipes for 400 ethnic groups scattered all around the countries. It is therefore, I would like to share with you two different kinds of jamu, that is Javanese and Madurese jamu from Java Islands. Java is one of the 5 biggest islands in Indonesia. Let me tell you how it was invented. It was a long time ago, since healers from the very famous kingdom in Central Java, they dedicated their life to find out formulation, medicines for the royal family members. So they work very hard. They do meditation. They do the fasting to find out what is the best medicines for the royal families. And finally, they find out. And they devoted it to the members of the royal families. But with one thing, formulas, many kinds of remedies, combined with advice for a healthy lifestyle. So both combination. What happened then? Common people who live outside the wall of the kingdom, they learn from their king about the formulation, about the medicines, and in combination with healthy lifestyle. Then I know from many kinds of books that actually that is the concept of Javanese way of life. What are they? It is said that people should be always in a good connection with their surroundings in order to be able to live in harmony, to live peacefully and healthily. That is actually what we call as a holistic approach for connecting body, mind, and spirit as a whole system, as a whole system approach. Then, from the written manuscript, I know that actually is the concept of a balanced life. The written manuscript also mentioned that I finally found historically that the concept of balanced life actually is the concept of jamu itself. Then, historically, I know that concept also is the concept of Asian medicine. So I know for sure that all Asian medicine has the same concept, that is concept of a balanced life. So let me back to jamu. Jamu is self-medication. So people start to heal themselves using natural formulation, natural ingredients for common ailments before they ask help from the medical doctors. So there are so many kinds of jamu. Firstly, I would like to introduce a very famous original jamu from Indonesia, namely jamu gendong. Gendong here means carry at the back. So they carry bamboo baskets where they put all the glass bottles, then they fill all the bottles with special drink, a mixture of fresh and dried herbs with a very potential health benefits supported by scientific evidence. So what are the benefits of taking such medicines? Many. General well-being. It's against headache. It's against flu. It's for controlling glucose, cholesterol, uric acid levels. For women, general well-being. For nursing mother, increased mother's milk secretion. So, by learning the jamu gendong, I am convinced that Indonesian people who take jamu gendong on a regular basis will be prevented for any kinds of diseases their whole life. Next, I would like to mention about special jamu for women's health. Japanese and Madurese jamu from Java Islands have a special jamu for women, but different formulas. Japanese women start from their early puberty a special drink, namely prepared from a mixture of turmeric and tamarind. Why turmeric? I learned there are so many research publications about the health benefits of turmeric, many, but one is sure, antioxidant. What is antioxidants? Against damaged cells. So by taking enough amount of antioxidant, we are sure that we will prevent ourselves against the dangers of pollution that's surrounding us right now. So what about Madurese women? Madurese women, it's an obligation for Madurese women to take jamu, start from puberty to menopausal. They don't actually know what the benefits are. It's a very complex mixture, but they know for sure two kinds. One, they exactly know by taking jamu on a regular basis, they will have the ability to create a good relationship with the family. With husband, they can serve their husbands well, so this is good for the family, with children, and with other members of the family. But what is number two? They are sure that jamu help them to develop a good reproductive system. This is very important because reproduction system is related to fertility. Fertility is related to ability to have children in their marriage life. So they are very afraid of infertility. So I know by learning, by doing research on this kind of jamu, I realized that healers from the past were aware of the importance of women as a generic blueprint of healthy children. By taking jamu, they are strong enough to raise their children. They have to raise healthy children. These are jamu sellers. We are very famous in every market, traditional markets, very famous ones. So, now, this is young generation. I am a lecturer, I'm a pharmacist. Young generation play a big responsibility to preserve jamu medicines. Why? Why so? It is a big asset for our health. So how to do that? They have to learn, they have to understand clearly about the basic philosophy or basic concept of the medicine. And they have to master the skill of preparing the medicines. So by understanding the basic concept, they will be able to do innovation. Why is it so? I know it happens in my country. Young generation do not like jamu, taste and smell bad. But by understanding the concept of balanced life, body, mind, and spirit connection, they know exactly how to do the innovation in the right way. And of course, they have to learn about what is the right preparation of jamu. They have to understand how to select the proper herbal materials for preparing jamu. They have to understand what is the pharmacological action of the jamu. They have to understand the doses, the side effects, etc. So I know now that they start doing the innovation in the right way. So next, about the community services. These are many kinds of kiosks which sell jamu, herbal, fresh and dried herbal for making jamu. Very famous in my country. This is young innovation that I mentioned just now. So they do now the right way because they understand the concept, the philosophy of jamu. And lastly, community services. This is very important for me. I know people, herbal medicines is very famous in the community where I'm living, but they don't know exactly how to use it. What is the purpose, and how can we use these medicines after we get sick? Of course not. So I do so many kinds of community services to educate the people what is the best way to do or to use traditional medicines before they get sick, before they contract chronic diseases. Hopefully that it works. All right. Then since that time on, I focused myself on the health of women. Another research that I'm conducting is with this leaves, very famous in the country, and they use as a vegetable. It's a wheat actually, easy to grow, and this is very empirically is used for anti-osteoporosis and neuroprotective action. We know that this is especially for postmenopausal women. Postmenopausal women are prone to bone problems and neurodegeneration, which makes them having a dementia. And from the research, I know that this is having a phytoestrogenic compound, which I know is having the potential as alternative to hormone replacement therapy necessary for postmenopausal women. And I'm doing also this cultivation in order to have a standardized herbal materials. This is a long way work. This is the leaves that I'm using, so I'm proving myself. This is the first leaf that I proved to be able to improve the milk secretion when I was having a baby. So I proved it myself. Now, this is the last part of my presentation. This is, I would say, the trend. This is what is popularly named as adaptogenic agent, which can only be found in herbal material. This has ability to increase our body's ability to against imbalances, to resist the damaging effect of stress. Stress is the main cause of imbalances. This is very easy to grow. It has the potential as ginseng, but ginseng, of course, is much stronger. And I would like to propose this for the future of health of your young generation. I believe that this will help a lot for the future health of this digital era. So let us then continue our discussion afterward with the topics on superimmunity, again, adaptogenic agent, and natural food. I would like to call upon some personal experiences that from people who never get sick. This is true. And I believe that Asian medicines, including Jamu, can help us for the future life of health people in our next generation. Thank you very much.
Professor, if you can remain on stage, we will go on to the panel discussion. Therefore, I call upon all speakers to come on stage, please. ぜひスピーカーの皆さん、ステージの方へ、お進みください。
So I think all the speakers, please proceed to the stage. And I would like to move on to the last session of this
forum. The theme is reverse ideas. Wada-san, Inaba-san, Agil-san, and I myself would also join, and Khan-san. Ms. Khan, do you have microphone, Ms. Khan?
はい。ちょっと時間も
So because of the limited time, we need to proceed once. Reverse ideas. I think there were many concepts brought by these speakers, and I want to ask you, what do you think about this reverse ideas? From myself, in this drastically changing era, we have development of communication tools and technology, and with that, I think world has become more closer. We are more smaller world because of those communication tools, and we are now able to have more contact with a different culture, different religion, practices, and different values. I think we have the opportunity to know them more than ever. However, because of the very rapid speed of this technology and communication tools, and hence we have the competition, very harsh competition society based on economy. So we want to become a global citizen. And isn't this very rapid change paralyzing our capability of making judgment to share and live together as a citizen, global citizen? So through the exchange and having to get to each other and knowing each other, maybe we'll be able to find a solution for the future so that we can share the affluence for the human being. There may be some answers to it through the exchange of opinions and communication. So my question to the speakers.
I want to ask you about the theme today, which is reverse ideas. What's your thought on this theme here?
Well, I think it's really left to a lot of individual interpretation, isn't it? Everybody sort of embraces this idea from their own perspective. For me, I think it's going back to traditional values and understanding our roots. There's so much wisdom and so much wealth that we must learn to uncover. And it would be a shame if we didn't. And I think we talked about this earlier, Andy. It's all about absorbing as much as you can from the previous generation in order to give the future generation a much better chance at optimal success.
Yeah, I think so too. Yes, the wisdom of the predecessor. Yes, the wisdom of the predecessor. Well, I am doing a program called Design Talk in NHK Broadcasting TV, and there we are having an understanding of the depth of the Japanese tradition and the crafts, but that lies in the predecessor's wisdom and lifestyle. We have to go back and see and understand the form and shape that we see now, the motifs, all born in those predecessors' wisdom. And I think we tend to forget that. Not a bit, but we have forgotten the traditional value, and we are totally away from it now and having a daily life. Mr. Wada, what do you think about reverse idea? そうですね。In myself, I have been absorbing and trying to think about what to say and what was my idea. Well, I think that I am always making a reverse and having a thinking, trying to do so as much as possible. So in case of myself, for example, music, how is music created and how is sound created? I go back again and I think about how to create the sound. For example, electronic music, you have the piano and you have the tones and you have the system, keyboards, you have the system. But originally, when you go further in depth, the sound, you have the different sound tones and different things coming out. So yes, the Islamic music, you don't have the black and white keyboards. In between, you have in Indonesia, the villages have their own different ways to tuning the music. So it is not just one system. We have been enjoying one system like keyboard, and we think that is just one answer, only answer. But on the other hand, we need to think reversely. That means we need to go back to the origin, how did it evolve? How did it happen? How was it born? Why did this system born? We need to go back and bring it about. Then we may find a lost opportunity or unfound opportunity. Listening to others' presentation, I thought so, whether it be fashion or in medicine. I think when you go backwards or reverse, there are mistaken or forgotten opportunities. So we're not just going towards the future. I think we are now making a screw-like thing and going upward and it is like stereotyped, not future. We may go in different directions if we go backwards and look what had happened in the past. It's the same in music, and it's the same in fashion and medicine. I think there is a possibility. And in the current system that we have now, we have to compare that with the past, the tradition, and I'm becoming serious. I am thinking, and I'm a bit confused, but that's what I think. Dr. Inaba, through the presentation, I thought in deeply, yes, I really was understanding, and I had to think about my existence itself, how I came to be existent. So, towards the future, the tips to explore the future. What is a reverse idea for that? What do you think about this? Yes, when you think about rivers, yes, we need to start from the earth. The living creature was born, and the human being was born, and we are born now. And especially human beings, we have the neural systems, we make the brain, and we have a certain virtual reality in our mind, and we make exchange of games and money, and we may make things in society. But when we go backwards or reverse, that means that we go back to the nature, the natural thing. So we are alive, and we have to share the living creators and organisms, and we have something to share, and that is a place. The place is Earth, and we have the living creator. And we have different cultures and different religions and different tradition. Way of thinking is different. But we need to respect each of them, and we need to think about what is our existence. And when going back to the original point, that is the reverse, I guess. Yes, indeed. Professor Agil?
You just heard from Mr. Inaba. Of course, the basic thing that, unfortunately, most of us has forgotten is that we have come from nature. Now you have presented us what nature gives us. What do you think of this theme today, reverse ideas?
Yes, thank you. I agree with all speakers. We are going too far now. We are going for a journey too far now. It's time for us to come back, to think about back to nature in the real sense. Empirically, all what the nature are serving for us is empirically proven of its efficacy. So we have, I mentioned about body, mind, spirit connection. And Dr. Inaba mentioned also, this is about time for us to think about it, to help us as the right way to face the very critical period that we are facing nowadays. What are they? We are now facing the weakening of our immune system. It's very dangerous. We are facing the damaging of cells caused by our surroundings. And now we are facing also the neurodegeneration. We are very dangerous for our brain. Now, we have everything in our surroundings. Very easy, actually. But let us think clearly and seriously about that. respect to nature is the only answer, according to me.
Thank you very much, Professor. さあ、皆さん、本当はまあ
So, ladies and gentlemen, I had prepared 2 more questions, but because of the time, I'm very sorry. We have to end at this point of time, but I think the presentation that was made by the speakers was so good, so fruitful, and I think you had shared their ideas today. But we are in an era where we need to think seriously about these things, including the researchers and artists and professors. I think all the people in the businesses as well need to think that further seriously, and we have to more deeper, what can we bring to the next generation? This needs to be thought in a global scale. So that's what I felt strongly today. So thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you very much for your ideas, speakers, and thank you for the audience as well. Thank you very much indeed.
そしてマンゲストゥティ
Thank you very much to all the presenters, Ms. Alia Khan, Mr. Wada, Mr. Toshiro Inaba, Ms. Mangestuti Agil, and